Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Wingate Solutions. I hope you're doing well. I'm out in the woods today doing a little training, so I figured I'd bring you along. I haven't made a lot of content lately, and I've been crazy busy doing homestead things and away at training, that sort of thing. So I haven't actually had a lot of time to get things done on this end as far as making content for you guys. I apologize, but I figured I'd get a little bit done today. So I haven't shot in a few weeks, so today's going to be pretty much a cold warm up. I'm going to work the handgun and a little bit of carbine, but I appreciate you guys coming along and hopefully you get something out of it. All right, I'm just going to do some pistol on steel, 25-ish yards, both of them. One's a little bit further, it's probably like 27 yards. C-zone, reduced C-zone over there. So I'm just going to work on this C-zone for right now. I just freshly painted it so I can see all my hits. So there is still accountability of where I'm hitting, which is good. Because I know that's something that's been brought up a lot lately is how steel's not a good training tool because it doesn't keep you honest. It does if you paint your steel. Pretty much that. Paper's still king when you're really trying to just push accuracy and really get that feedback of individual hits, things like that. But steel, you're getting that immediate feedback, and as long as it's freshly painted, then you're good. Just go up there and hit it with some paint every couple rounds. And then that way you're not just like, hitting way down in the abdomen on the C-zone. But not a big deal. Just want to show you guys what I'm doing. All right, one round. I'll just go on the C-zone for right now. Hopefully you can kind of see. So perfect example, right? So 143, so not my best time. I haven't been shooting a lot. I haven't shot for a couple weeks. So a little low left from center mass. If it was an IPSC target, it'd probably be just outside the A zone, right? Maybe cutting the line. You may or may not be able to see it. So I can still see that. Now I know I was just looking at black silhouette, red dot press. If I want to refine that accuracy a little bit, I need to take a little bit more time, refine my fundamentals, and make sure I'm sending a good upper mass shot. So I'm going to try to do that for this next one, right? So I still get that awesome feedback, even though it's steel. So, all right, stand by. So for a 150, much better. It's upper center mass favoring a little bit of left, right? So again, awesome feedback for me. Same thing. .137. That I couldn't really ask for a more center shot than that, so I'm happy with that. And I'll keep doing that. Now that one was a little low left. There's a mixture of flash dot presentation for a 135. So I had a little bit of flash dot. I wasn't letting the dot settle. And I also just get a little bit of anticipation and yanked it a little bit low left. Still a hit on steel, right? But just not as accurate as I want it to be. All right, we'll do a couple more of these guys. All right. Up on the shoulder for a 157. That was a crappy draw. My dot was off the target when I drew. I had to kind of bring it back center, and then wasn't exactly my best press. Let's do another clean one. That was pretty good for a 151, so I'm okay with that. I'm going to do a couple target transitions. So it'll be, I'll just do 2 rounds on the one and then 2 rounds on the other, and I'll kind of change it up both ways depending on which one I shoot first. So again, C-zone and then a reduced C-zone. So still pretty good sized pieces of steel at like 25, 30 yards I'm at. So all right, we get after it. 2 rounds each. I'll start on the reduced guy. All right, first shot was a 147. It was a total of a 397. Whoop, I'm out. See if I actually have one in the chamber. If not, you're probably going to see a nice muzzle dip. I didn't actually check, so we'll find out. All right, 2 rounds and 2 rounds again. I'll do the exact same thing. .207 for the first shot and a 421. So that was a little bit of a jacked up draw. And we'll do it again from left to right. Same thing, 2 and 2. .150 with a .352 total. All right, guys, we're going to talk target transitions now. So I'm still like 25 yards, got those 2 pieces of steel, pretty good spread between them. So the industry standard or way of explaining this, and I tend to agree with it, is drive the gun with your eyes. Let your eyes move and then move the gun to your eyes. Okay. And that's how we do it in general too, right? Our draw stroke is our heads up position or whatever position we're in. The gun needs to come up to our eye line. We don't sink down to the gun, right? We don't bring the gun up and then bring our head down to the gun. Same with a rifle. We don't bring the rifle up and then sink down into it. We bring the rifle up to our eye line. Same thing with target transitions. I want to move my eyes to the place that I intend to shoot, which would be the new target, and then I move the gun. Okay, or the handgun, obviously, same thing. Eyes, gun, eyes, gun, eyes, gun. If I was going back and forth. Now that's exaggerated and kind of slow motion, but it proves the point. And when you're learning it, you should be doing it slow motion and exaggerated, so you're making sure you're working on the right fundamentals. If you're just going for raw speed, there's a high chance that you're going to overshoot the target. From left to right, I'm going to push the gun left. Same thing going left to right or right to left. I'm going to end up pushing the gun past the target and have to self-correct, or I'm going to end up driving shots off the side of the target, if that makes sense. So if you're driving the gun with your eyes, it's a lot more easy to settle the sights on exactly where you intend them to be, rather than living through the sight and overshooting. So it kind of makes sense. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm just going to do 2 rounds per for a few of these. So that way I'm getting recoil management, follow through on the same target, and then transition into the next one. That's another thing guys will do is, especially if the drill is to make a hit on steel, you'll see a lot of people go shot and already be on the next target, and they didn't hear a ding on that one. Now, if you can call your shot and you're that confident that you can just rip that shot off and move to the next steel, like that's cool. I mean, that's like up here level, right? Is that understanding of follow through and actually being super efficient with it, and not letting your sight settle for too long and unneeded time, wasted time settling back down on target if you're confident in your shot. But that's kind of like higher level thinking. Like when you're building the fundamentals, proper follow through, regaining that sight picture is very important, and then establishing whether or not you need to send another round or move to a new target or whatever the shot sequence is. So something to think about. Make sure you're using that proper follow through. So I'm going to do those 2 rounds. So we want to get 2 actual hits on steel, transition to the next target, 2 hits on steel. So we'll get after it, put it on time so I can kind of keep myself honest with where I'm at. All right. On delay, cool. I can't tell if I made that last one or not. That one definitely hit. Sometimes the edge of the steel doesn't ring as loud as I'd like. But the nice thing with this is I don't have to go up and look at paper. If my acceptable area was that piece of steel, especially if I had it spray painted, I can see my hits, which makes it cool. That's a 6.58 with a 1.72 first shot. So I'm going to do that again, clean it up. All right, 2 on each. All right, 2 rounds each target. Transitions, working on driving the gun with my eyes. Shit. Okay. And I had that reload in there. Total of a 5.60 with a 1.52 for that first shot. So, and I think I talked about it in another video. We all tend, unless we really work at this, to slow down our first presentation, our draw, if we know we're shooting more than 1 round. And it makes sense. You know there's going to be follow-up shots, so your brain wants to make sure you grip, make sure you're centered up on the target for the first shot, so you have less deviation under recoil, right, for follow-up shots. So it makes sense in theory, but it is a problem. And some guys would say it's because we don't focus so much on 1 round of the holster, then do only multiple shot strings. And I tend to agree to an extent. I think we need to look at this as, even as defensive shooters, professional gun carriers, or competition guys, the actual foundation, the process of being proficient with a firearm needs to be broken down to the incremental movements. So that's why we teach a 5-step draw, then a 3-step draw, then just the draw, and then everything else associated with that. And all those fundamentals can all be broken down to their own things that we can then learn to be efficient at, and then put it all together into one polished piece. And that's where performance-based shooting comes in. Whether you're doing this defensively or professionally, we can learn a lot from the guys that do this performance-based competition, or professional shooters, like guys that just get paid to shoot for a living. They're going to work on those single individual reps. But then you want to bridge the gap. I want to then bring that into multiple reps. And that's where we have the deviation of my one round from the holster may be faster than my first round for 6 shots, because I'm consciously settling down and making sure I'm good for all 6 shots before I even get the first one done. So it's something we got to work on. We should be able to have that first shot be pretty dang close. And it's easier said than done. I think it's a habit that most of us have, me included. So if I'm not consciously trying to work on it, then it's something I jack up. So it's something to think about. But anyway, a little long-winded there. I'm gonna keep going with this. So 2 rounds each. Good. Okay. Those felt pretty good. So it was a 1.55. So again, I still was a little bit slower than my normal draw time, with a 3.63 total for those 2 shots per. All right, let's do a build drill. 25 yards, C-zone steel, big chunky piece of steel. 6 rounds from the holster for time. See where I'm at. All right, stand by. All right, a little slow in the beginning there. I definitely could have got after a little faster. So 1.44 first shot, and then 3.46 total. So, all right, to start, 2 rounds on the reduced silhouette, 30-ish yards. Okay, 1.11 and a 1.68. So I'll do it a little faster. I'll do it again with the dot. 0.95 for and a 1.37. I'll do that again one more time. And that was a 0.85 and a 1.30. So I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna use the optic now. So a little thing on this is, it takes training to run a magnified optic, especially a heavier gun. It's a little bit slower to even bring it up on target, just because there is a lot of mass here. Now, pros and cons, it's probably gonna aid in some recoil management, just because it's a bigger gun, not recoiling as much, but it's gonna be a little slower. And then once you're on the optic, you need to be more efficient with actually targeting, like actually sighting in. Because depending on the size of the target and the distance, if you're not there, you might not find it in your optic. So it takes a little bit of training. Also, if we're talking moving targets, that's a whole nother world. Right now I'm just shooting a stationary target, and it's not that far, but it's still doable for a 2.5. And guys are kicking indoors in Fallujah with a 4-power ACOG, so it's doable. Yeah. All right, let's get after it with the 2.5. Okay, it took me a second to settle. 1.10 and a 1.60. Do that again. Nope, not a pistol mag. 0.93 and a 1.37. Still a little faster for me to use a top dot. A lot of that's obviously because it's a red dot. It's 1x, not 2.5x, and being higher allows it to come to my eye line a little sooner, as opposed to me having to get behind the optic. So there's always gonna be that little bit of speed difference, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. Still fun to have both options. All right, let's do the same thing. All right, 1-0 and then a 1-4-6. All right, guys, I'm gonna do a little target transitions with the rifle now. So same with handgun, nothing really changes. Eyes lead the way, eyes drive the rifle, right? That way we're not going to swing past, especially if you are running a little bit heavier of a build like this. There's nothing crazy heavy, it's not a super lightweight build, so it's a little less maneuverable. So if I do get this thing swinging, it's gonna be a little bit more cumbersome, a little easier to overswing a target, if that makes sense. So I don't have to drive the rifle back, or I'll end up pushing shots to the side depending which way I'm going. So I'll go back and forth from left to right, just so I get reps both ways. And yeah, it's simple. Do it nice and slow. Push yourself as you build up the efficiencies of it. You can do your targets at different distances or really widespread to the point where you actually have to break the rifle off your shoulder. For instance, if I was going to shoot this direction and then that direction, I would, instead of swinging all the way that way, this is a safe environment, so don't get all worried about it. I would actually break the rifle down off the shoulder, right, to a muzzle down position, and then step and then reacquire the rifle and engage that way, if that makes sense. So you can work on that, do that dry, that sort of thing. Make sure you have a range that incorporates the ability to actually swing past like 180 or about 180. If you wanted to practice that in a little bit, well, I'll say safer environment, but an environment that would allow you to at least face up range with a rifle, you can just do that same thing broken down, but just have a target behind you and then work pivots and turns that way, if that makes sense. And same thing with that, just like how when we're target transitioning, eyes lead the way. Same thing if we're doing anything with targets behind you. So pivots and turns, everything is based on my eyes actually seeing the target or threat or whatever you want to envision it as. I actually need to see, turn, and engage. Okay. So that way I'm not swinging my muzzle past things that shouldn't be muzzled, like other guys in the line or teammates, things like that. So it's important to actually positively ID what you're going to point your gun at. So eyes lead the way. So a little thing like that. Another thing to think about when running an optic like this, target transitioning from left to right or right to left, it's going to be easier for me to target transition from a right target to a left target, especially shooting two eyes open, especially if I'm behind that 2.5 glass. Because if I'm sucked into this glass, I can still see with my left eye, at least enough to be able to transition smoothly. If the target was moving from left to the right side, two different targets, I might have this kind of blocking my view, and then it might be something where I have to break my head off the cheek well, if that makes sense. So something to experiment with. It's also another nice reason to have the dot on top. It allows me to stay heads up and I can see everything and move as opposed to being sunken in behind the optic. But this height for an optic still is going to be king for me for doing optic related shooting, like distance, things like that. I don't want to have a really high, like variable powered optic like this. But everybody's gonna be a little different, so it might work for you. But this is kind of the perfect height for me to use for heads up and then for anything that's scope related. But I still like to train them both at different distances. That makes sense. So I'm going to start with just the red dot, do left to right, then I'll do one right to left and switch it up, and I'll kind of show you that or demonstrate that a little bit. All right, getting after it. Okay, that was a 185.98 total. Sorry, other way around, 0.98 and a 185. I'm going to go from right to left now. So that time I overswung the target by about a foot and had to bring it back. Might not be able to see that on camera because the time's still pretty close. 0.96, then a 196. So, all right, I will do 2 rounds from right to left on each target. Okay, 0.97, so I'm pretty consistent for that under a second first shot. 282 total. I'm gonna switch it up and use my optic now. Let's do that. Go from left to right, which is a little more challenging. Okay, 122, but a 216 total. I'm going to go right to left now. Okay. 0.98 for the first shot, then a 4.86 after the reload. Get myself restaged. I'm a fan of restaging your magazines like this. I got 2 rifle mags on here, so after the one's empty, if I have time, I'm going to move it, the back one to the front, because I like to have the consistency of reloading from the same pouch as often as possible, so that I'm building that up in my brain. I'm not constantly going to different spots, if that makes sense. So something to think about. Stuff for another video. All right, I'm gonna do some movement, just simple movement, just to get my feet kind of going, and have to reacquire sights, reacquire my footing, all that good stuff. So it's important to do this if you can. If you're at a range, a private range or a public range where you're allowed to actually move, you should find one like that, or find buddies that can get trained somewhere, train somebody's property, because just standing in an indoor range where you can't actually do anything doesn't really get you far. But if you can't, at least you can do all this dry, somewhere safe, right? Even if it's in a basement, whatever, just sterile environment, train dry work. You still can do movement and that sort of thing because it's important. So I'm just gonna do real basics, like 1 round on this steel. I'm gonna move to predetermined location, like right over there, and then I'm gonna shoot this other target that I can't see from where I'm at now because I moved myself so that there's a tree in the way. I'm gonna use my safety in between because sights are coming off target, my eyes coming off my optic, and I'm moving my feet. So unless I'm actually still shooting, safety goes back on for those few feet. Get there, reacquire a target, positively ID it as being a target that I want to shoot. Safety comes off as my optic hits my eye line. Simple as that, right? Now it's very simple, but it's something you need to just train and ingrain in you. So, all right, we'll do it a couple times. I'll do it this way, I'll do it that way. I'm not really worried about the time because it's just kind of a random space, but I'm still going to use the beep as my signal to go. All right. All right. We'll do the same thing coming back that way. Cool. I'll do 2 rounds this time. 2 rounds, then I'll move over there and send 2 rounds. Ah, shit. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the video. I really appreciate you watching. If you got something out of it, awesome. I hope you did. And either way, I really appreciate you guys sticking with it for this long. Helps with the algorithm and all that stuff. If you want to support us, please hit that thumbs up, that like button. Comment something down below. I really enjoy reading them. Hit that subscribe button. And if you want to support us any further, you can go over to our website, link down in the description. I make handmade rifle slings, so like this 2-point minimalist freedom sling, and also sling retention straps, and soon to be my little enlarged thumb release for the ALS button on the Safariland holsters. I'm gonna have that out soon, and soon I'm also gonna have my leg strap on the site. So if you want up-to-date info on that, follow us on Instagram at Wingate Solutions. That's usually where I'm going to throw up like a quick up-to-date on like colorways that are in stock or new product releases, or I'll probably throw them up on here too, but whether or not you actually get the notification, who knows. But anyway, really appreciate you guys watching. Till next time, get out and train.